There once was a man named Samson. He was a judge in Israel who had one great strength, super strength. And it was a gift from God, a miraculous ability that made him famous throughout the land. But Samson also had a weakness, a very attractive weakness, Delilah. Now Delilah was a woman who lived in the city of Sorek. She was beautiful and she was smart, and she was everything that Samson was not. Now Delilah's people, the Philistines, they were sworn enemies of the Israelites. And Delilah, well, she wasn't exactly thrilled about being in love with an Israelite. But Samson, he didn't care about any of that. He was head over heels for this woman. In fact, when the Philistine leaders heard that Samson was in love with Delilah, they went to her and they made her a proposition. They said, "Hey, if you can get Samson to tell us how he got his strength, we will make you a wealthy woman for life." So Delilah agreed. And every night she would pester Samson, trying to find out his secret. But Samson, being the strong guy that he was, he easily resisted. He was like, "Nah, you're not going to get me to tell you my secret." But then Delilah, she tried a different tactic. She played the innocent one. She pretended to be worried about him, and she said, "Why are you always so sad? Tell me what's on your mind." And Samson, well, he took the bait. He told her about how he felt like a failure as a judge, about how the Philistines were a constant threat, and about how he felt like he couldn't protect his people. And as Samson poured his heart out to Delilah, she listened patiently, nodding her head and offering words of comfort. All the while, though, she was thinking to herself, "This is it. I have him right where I want him." Then came the moment she had been waiting for. Samson, exhausted and emotionally vulnerable, finally let his guard down. He told Delilah his secret. He told her that his strength came from God, but that if he were to tell anyone else, he would lose his powers. And as soon as he said those words, Delilah knew that she had won. She immediately ran to the Philistine leaders and told them everything. And as soon as Samson realized what he had done, it was too late. The Philistines had him surrounded, and his strength was gone. They beat him, they blinded him, and they threw him into prison. But Samson, even in his weakness, he still prayed to God. And as he prayed, something amazing happened. God gave him one final victory. In a last-ditch effort to escape, Samson pushed against the pillars that were holding up the temple above him. The pillars collapsed, the temple burned, and Samson killed more of the Philistines in his death than he had in his entire life. Now, the story of Samson and Delilah, it's a sad one, really. Here was a man who had everything, who was blessed with incredible abilities, but he let it all go because of his attraction to a woman. You see, Samson's fall was not because he was weak. It was because he was disobedient. He disobeyed God, and he trusted in his own strength instead of relying on God. And Delilah, well, she's the perfect example of misplaced trust. She betrayed the man who loved her simply because she was offered a better deal by the enemy. So what's the lesson here? Well, I think there are two. First, true strength comes from God. And second, no matter how weak we may feel, as long as we trust in God, we can always rely on Him for help. I'm reminded of the Apostle Paul, who said that he boasted in his weaknesses, because that's when his strength was made perfect. Friends, we live in a world full of Delilahs, people who will try to trick us, tempt us, and betray us. But as long as we stay close to God, as long as we rely on His strength and not our own, we will never fall. Let's take a moment to thank God for His strength, for His love, and for His faithfulness in our lives. No matter what we face, no matter what we go through, we can take heart knowing that God is with us every step of the way. Thank you for watching. And until next time, remember, God loves you, and so do we.